the opportunity to work at the lunch program at the Cloverville Regional Library. In this program,
I thought it was a laser. I take Flow is. Dressed out. We give you some drop. Good news with that is that she'll be for the next conference. So it's just so you'll get to drive. Yeah.
Yes.
I have no idea. I have read it, yeah.
I call this to order. Welcome to the Sonoma County Library Commission meeting, September 6th. Had a month off, although the staff has been incredibly busy. I'm sure we all have. But, welcome everybody. Oh, I'm so sorry. Better? I took 2 minutes to welcome you all. So it's good to see everybody. I know the summer has been busy. Let's see, this meeting is live streamed and available for public observation. Do we have any members of the public? No, not yet.
Yes.
We do have, we have somebody.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I actually was looking online, but hang on. I'm going to call it to order, and then we're going to move to public appearance. So hang on. I'm going to take the roll. Mr. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Elkin.
Here.
Mr. Anghorst.
Here.
Mr. Glover.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Heavenridge.
Here.
Mr. Lagos.
Here.
Mr. McKenzie.
Here.
All right. Mr. Hauser and McMillan are traveling and will not be joining us tonight. And are there any announcements? This is also not public comment. Are there any announcements? Okay. Now, public appearances.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland, which is actually the Roseland Census District, and according to government statistics, is the most disadvantaged community on the urban edge of Santa Rosa. I'm here today because I want to clarify a couple of things as you go forward on your efforts to better serve my community, perhaps. The first is, you'll be hearing about me always advocating for the best for Roseland. With that in mind, decades ago, I was already speaking about the need for us to have a Roseland library. And 16 years ago, when the county perhaps misguidedly, decided to purchase 7 acres of land on Sebastopol Road, they enticed us community members into supporting that activity with the idea that there would be a branch library at the site of what they were going to build. So I'm here so that you'll understand, for the rest of my life, I'll be working to try to make sure and keep one, maybe corner library, a Roseland branch library in the Roseland Census District. I know that you have plans to build a super library down in the Bellevue District, 1.2 miles from where that county land was bought. And I don't ever want you to feel in any way, shape, or form that I'm trying to detract from your effort. By the same token, I'm like Oliver Twist. We want a little more porridge up there in Roseland. We don't want to give up that small little library branch we got. That has been a boon to us. And it's right there right now working well. The city of Santa Rosa is going to spend some taxpayers' money, do some things, say perhaps they'll get a police station, things like that. That doesn't mean we have to get rid of the Roseland Little Branch Library. We can keep a Roseland Branch Library even as you build the super library down for Bellevue and the tens of thousands of people who will be moving into that area with Santa Rosa's doing its development type plans. So what I'm hoping is you'll work with us community members who are loyal to Roseland and help us keep a library in Roseland. Corner branches can be no bigger than this. I've seen one like this near Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, on the ground floor of a 2-story housing type building. So you can do these things. It's going to take a little bit of what they call vision. We need you folks to have a better vision for Roseland, not just for the bigger building of the grand edifice that's going to come down the road for all those new people. Those people in Roseland who are the most disadvantaged and have been for decades have been thrilled to have this small little library branch. Please don't take it from us. Help us to get another one there if the city decides to buy that building. Let us get one further down the road on Sebastopol Road where the county promised us we would get one 16 years ago. Thank you for your time. I can't
Thank
stay
you.
for the rest of your meeting, but thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Any other public appearances? We are going to rearrange the agenda just a little bit. We're going to, we're at presentations, so we're going to have the summer lunch teen intern presentation, but then we're going to bring what is section 7.1, which is the foundation report, up to be 4.2, and then we're going to bring the NeoGov presentation, which is 9.1, up to be 4.3. Objection? Okay. Then with that, we'd love to hear it.
Good evening, Commissioner Doyle.
Can you move your microphone up? We're not hearing
Is
you.
this better? Or this one?
Whichever one is going to work.
Is this better?
Not much.
Testing, testing.
Is this better? Okay. Good evening, Chair Doyle, Director Tebow, Commissioners. Tonight, I am more than pleased to share with you a clip from our Summer Lunch Teen Intern Program. In addition to the background information provided to you in your packet, I would like to share some statistics for you about our summer lunch program that occurred at our 7 libraries: Petaluma, Sonoma Valley, Rohnert Park Cotati, Sebastopol, Northwest Santa Rosa, Healdsburg, and Cloverdale. We served lunch over 9 weeks. We provided 4,829 meals to youth ages 0 to 18. We had 1,160 attendees. We provided 5,117 take-home activities and school supplies, and we completed 64 outreach pop-up visits to community meal sites. A parent that attended our last week of Money Smart School Supplies lunch program said this: I brought my 2 teen sons to the Healdsburg Library's Money Smart Week event today. I absolutely love that you simply didn't just give away the school supplies. I really appreciate that you set up a store so that the kids can think about budgets and use decision-making skills. These are critical independent living skills, and I thank you all for your hard work in putting this program together. Tonight, you'll be hearing from all 14 of our teen interns who cumulatively worked 1,682 hours this summer. For most of them, it was their first job ever. In addition to working, providing lunch and enrichment activities, our interns received workforce development, including leadership and public speaking training. They got headshots, a ServSafe food handler's permit, they made vision boards for the summer, and they learned about work wellness. Not only are our teens gaining on-the-job work skills, but they are gaining soft skills that will shape their future careers to come. A special thank you goes out to Kathy Deweese and Rachel Acaza for putting the grant together and putting forth the effort to turn it into reality. A thank you to all of our managing librarians, branch managers, HR, IT, graphics, budget and finance, and facility staff. And a thank you to Erica for having the foresight to see value in this program and allowing our staff to learn and grow in our library system. The longer presentation can be viewed by the link in your commission packet if you haven't watched it already. But right now you'll be seeing about a 6-minute clip of all of the interns talking, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
My name is Dylan Sanchez.
And my name is Billy Hager.
Recently, we had the opportunity to work at the lunch program at the Cloverville Regional Library. In this program, our duty is to serve lunch to the community while also providing comfort and activities for them to enjoy themselves. For me, in the library program, I learned to be prepared for any occasion and to never panic. At the lunch program, you could either have the busiest day or the emptiest. At the busiest, make sure to keep track of how many meals were served, how many people attended, and how many meals were discarded. At the emptiest, plan ahead for the next following day and maybe get an activity that would cure your boredom if no one shows up.
Through working at the library, I learned the importance of empathy and communication with diverse groups of people. Creating a positive and creative environment for children proved to be an effective method that was very impactful on their lives. Additionally, I discovered the necessity of being prepared for any situation, avoiding panicking, and managing expectations for the future.
Hi, I'm Stacy. And I'm Everest. And we're the Healdsburg Library Leadership. To me, leadership means guiding and helping others. It means stepping up, being brave, and fixing issues. I learned that leadership can change. The way you lead shifts depending on the people around you. This skill will always be helpful. From school to another job, I will use this skill. We will never perfect this skill, but continue to build upon everything we learned.
Teamwork. Teamwork is the willingness to work together as a group. We practice this in instances like working together with someone new, which is different but rewarding getting to know each other. This can also be said with working with our volunteers, guiding the kids through crafts, and being an example of teamwork. As a skill I will keep on using, I have developed strengths in listening to input, being a team player, and being overall more efficient. My takeaway from this is that I really enjoy group work, and with a good team can get even better results.
Hi, we're the teen interns for the Lunch at the Library program with the Northwestern Center Rosa branch. I'm Janelle.
And I'm Tatiana. To begin, we'd like to help you picture what our normal day looks like working here. When we first arrive at 11, we do our timesheets and check our emails. We start setting up for lunch at the library at 11:15, and we serve lunch from 12 to 12:30. At about 12:35, we clean everything up, and then we have until 2 to work on any projects we can help with.
Overall, this is a great experience, and we love being teen interns at the Lunch at the Library. There are a few things that we believe could be changed to make the program better. Served our lunch outside, and it was very uncomfortable because it got hot during the summer. So we think it would be best if we could serve lunch inside. And a lot of kids seem to be in a hurry and didn't want to eat at the location. So we believe it would be best if the kids could take the meals home.
Thank you for this opportunity to work at the library and give kids free lunches.
Hi, I'm Joy,
And I'm Natasha.
and we are the Petaluma Branch Lunch at the Library interns. I know for me in particular, as I'm about to start my freshman year at college, a lot of college jobs involve food service or customer service, and this will definitely be a useful tool to have on my resume as I'm applying for jobs. And I think my takeaways are just how much I've enjoyed getting to interact with the kids, and especially the kids and the families who come back often.
For me, it really means a lot that we're doing something that is helping a lot of people. It's really a necessity, and seeing that people need this and they come back and they're really getting something out of it is really rewarding.
Hello, I'm Luna Petit.
And I'm Anthony Alonso. We're from the Cotati Rohnert Park Regional Library. And this summer, we have learned a lot about our community and the people in it. We learned how important this summer lunch program has been to families when we see them coming back every day. Knowing that we played a part in ensuring children had nutritious meals during the summer fills us with a sense of purpose and accomplishment. We love to see the happy kids who come to eat lunch, and we always love to listen to their stories and conversate. We discovered that beyond the basic need for food, these moments offered a space for children to connect, share stories, and experience happiness.
Working together as a team and overcoming challenges in the workplace is an essential skill that will benefit us in our future careers. We hope that the experiences gained during this program will have shaped our understanding of collaboration and leadership. Overall, this was a great experience, and we are grateful we were chosen to make this summer one to be thankful for. The memories we've made and the lessons we've learned will continue to shape our perspective and contribute to personal and professional growth. We would also like to thank Allison Palmer, who has been supporting us from the start and guiding us to success in this program. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Forrest.
And my name is Marielle.
And we are from the Basketball Library Branch. And these are some of the positive things that we gained from the internship.
We learned how to be prepared and motivated for future jobs. And a skill that I gained is being confident in the program certificate that was provided for us internships last fall. And we received a certificate at the end of the program, which we could show for other jobs.
A skill that I gained during this internship was teamwork. Working so closely with the other intern has made it easier for me to collaborate on different ideas and such. And it was also very nice during this internship to see the smiles on kids' faces after they completed the craft that we planned for them.
Hello, my name is Lily Library, and I am a teen intern at the Sonoma Valley Branch. Having to go out and ask people if they want a lunch or if they want to play with certain things in the room has allowed me to go outside my comfort zone and to adapt to different situations. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, my name is Adriel Velasquez, and this is I'm an intern at the Sonoma Branch. It was very exciting to be a paid intern at the library because I had volunteered in the past doing the same thing, serving lunch, but having a paid position was very fulfilling because it was my first job, and it really gave me a sense of gratification and responsibility, which I enjoyed. So I really enjoyed being an intern as my first job here at the library.
I hope you all enjoyed that. Do you have any questions?
Questions? Yes, Barbara.
A couple of things. I was wondering, in the report, it talks about, basically, this was a whole new thing for the library to take on. I mean, this was a job skills, job training, a whole new thing. And that this might be something we look forward to the future. And I wonder if there have been any thoughts about how more along that line we could do. And then secondly, I saw on Facebook a lot about the store, like coming down and get your backpack and all that at the store, but I was confused about how that worked. I didn't think I have enough information about that.
So talking about doing in the future, we are already starting to meet for the next summer. We received a lot of money for this grant this year. We're going to be going for the grant again. It's going to be like this every year. It's going to be opening up in September. So we have 2 to 3 teen librarians who are going to be working on a task force that were on it this last year, who are managing teen interns. And we've already started meeting. Rachel has started meeting and Kathy have. Still? Okay, is this better? So we've already started meeting to start the process of how we will apply, what are we going to apply for, and yes, interns are something we want and more branches want, but we're looking into that right now. I'm gonna let Rachel talk more about the Money Smart stuff.
So we had this great idea that the children's librarians actually gave me a while back, that they wanted to have school supplies as part of the summer reading, summer lunch experience. So I said, okay, how can we make that a program? And we already had a foundation of a Money Smart art supply store that had been done years ago. And let's make it into a store where kids can use little funny money auto bucks with auto or otter on it, and they can each get $40 and shop, quote unquote, for their items. And they would have, we had a backpack with 20 pieces of school supply that they could choose from. They each got enough money they could get every single item if they wanted. In addition, they had the opportunity to rent the use of a button maker. So that we're teaching them all these concepts of purchasing things, renting things, how to share and borrow and all that kind of stuff. So does that answer your question?
And it's totally separate from those different kids, or not necessarily the same kids?
No, it's a summer lunch activity. So what we want to do with summer lunch is we want to, first of all, feed children, right? But they're here, and so we want to entice them and keep them in the building so that they do summer reading activities. They engage with our librarians, they check out books, they go to events. The summer lunch grant paid for $15,000 of events in relation to summer reading. So when we had a music performer or a journal, art program for teens, that was part of summer lunch as well, because their teens are here eating lunch. Lunch is provided for this great performance or activity that you're doing. That answer your question?
Yeah, I just when I saw it on Facebook, I shared it and I thought, well, wait a minute, am I supposed to share this for any kid, or is it? I mean, I guess
yes. Any kid who is starting school. If you're a 5-year-old, TK kid coming in, we had plenty of little ones and older kids. Yeah.
Other questions? I have a question. I think the presentation was great. I would have liked to have seen in the presentation what they did. So we got a sense of what they learned and what was good for the kids, but we didn't necessarily see what they did. I think the whole story is important to tell.
So one thing about the presentation that you saw is this is a snippet of it. So there's a longer version where they do talk more about things that they did, but we wanted to make sure that you weren't watching 16 minutes of presentation. So I encourage you to watch the whole video. But a part of this presentation was this was a cumulative event for them. So they made the slides, they chose what they said. They had a public speaking training directly before this. So we really didn't give them prompts. We didn't ask them specific questions. We asked them more open-endedly, what did you learn this summer? What did you take away from this experience? What would you tell others about it? So we kind of let them decide the content for it and creation and what they wanted to say for it. But I hear you for next year.
No. That's a great explanation, and we do have the longer one. After you let them do this, after you gave them a little training and then told them to put it together, did you then have a post-mortem to say, this is how you could have made it better? Or how do you think you could have made it better?
For their presentations?
Yep.
They worked with the managing librarian, so believe it or not, they took a lot of takes before the ones that you saw. So the managing librarians did work with them a lot to get the takes that you did see. So they did work.
But afterwards, I think it's important to, if you're doing presentations like this and you're clearly interested in learning about this, I think it's important to do a postmortem, and that's just me. I haven't been in the communications business, so sorry, not to take up
I
too
hear
much time.
you, definitely something to take for next year. We surveyed them like crazy. They did a lot of reflecting and surveys for us. So we have a lot of other information from them. And something that you don't get from this clip is that they were so grateful for the managing librarians that they had. Every one of them thanked them all throughout all throughout the process and the presentation and in their surveys for all that they learned from them. So
And how many students applied?
A lot, yeah.
So we ended up with 14 interns. There were 146 completed applications. We had way more than we could ever handle. If anybody wants a full run through of all, I have so much great data and content about this, photos, narratives, just it goes on and on and on. I have folders and folders of stuff about this. So if you want more, I have it for you. We had to pick the most kind of indicative of different pieces and not repeating the same thing over and over. But if you want more, I have a lot more.
It sounds like a great ALA presentation next year.
Yeah, Rachel did a wonderful job. As she says, she has lots of data on it. We really tried to hone down like some specific statistics, facts, and then you hearing from all the teams yourself. So thank you so much for the feedback. Oh, yes.
I just wanted to say, I think this is fantastic, and I'm really glad the library's doing it, and I wanted to thank you, Rachel. Involved in managing it. I mean, you know, I know I'm going to sound like an old person, but back in the day, summer jobs were an important part of growing up, and they're not available so much now. And the fact that you provided meaningful work opportunities for people, and it was clear that they took away a lot. I was really impressed with the comments that they made and with the poise with which they spoke. I mean, I'm really proud of the library for doing this, so thank you so much.
Of course, we were very proud of the teens. They were very, very nervous. I don't know if that came across here. They were very nervous, and we were very proud of what they did. And I would also say our librarians stepped up at our branches, our teen librarians. They received lead pay for this, and they managed the teen interns at their branches. So they did their time cards, they oversaw them, they helped them with their training. They really stepped up into another role this summer as well and took ownership of it. So we're very grateful for them and the branch managers that supported them when they were not in the branch. It was a wonderful workforce development summer for all, I think.
Let's see, now we're going to welcome a report from the foundation. Hello, good to be with you this evening. Is this working? No. Is this working? Aha, all righty. Okay, I'll introduce myself while we're waiting for the screen. Yeah, this is fun, like an ice cream cone, so. I'm Chris Valley. I'm delighted to be with you all tonight. I'm the new president of the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation. And I know you're all aware, our foundation board has been working very hard to pitch in where we're needed on this campaign for the new Roseland Library, as well as the fundraising that will necessarily need to follow as we modernize our facilities. We are grateful for those who seated us on the foundation board, building on their historic commitment to the library. We feel that we have come to the foundation's next chapter of service to this library system. We've used the summer to make careful preparations to achieve the goals before us in this fiscal year. This evening, I want to take a moment and review the highlights for our plan for the year. In all the presentations, though, what I first want to do is to thank you. We have been very grateful to the Commission for your generosity, not only financially, but also your passion and support for this next step as we launched our campaign this year. Your example has been an inspiration to us, but also to others, and we've talked about that with other donors, so thank you so much for that. Got too many buttons to worry about, so thank you. Board building has been a priority, and tonight I'm delighted to introduce you to our growing team of committed professionals. With me on the leadership team is our new Vice President, Pat Kuda, who also leads our development committee, our wonderful treasurer, Judy Glenn, and Elena Whistler graciously continues as our secretary. Meanwhile, guided by our nominating committee, chaired by another one of our new members, Jorge Incencio, we are proud we have added some really, truly wonderful members. Magali Larque is the Director of Programs of Latino Service Providers and is already bringing robust ideas about how we can build our relations
with the Latino community. Dennis McCarter, who grew up in Roseland and operated a successful insurance agency there, recently launched his own wine label, McCarter Cellars. It's already winning awards. And then Bo Simmons, retired now, was the librarian who helped open our wine library in Healdsburg. I'm sure many of you are aware. For some time now, he has been working tirelessly to bring us excellent connections in the wine community. We've got a fundraising call to action. So led by Pat Kuda and Judy Glenn, we have a very thorough results-oriented fundraising plan. If you know either of these women, you know they are really committed to this. I'm proud to report that not only has it been vetted personally with every single member on our board and adopted by unanimous vote, but we are well into implementation of several of the key strategic imperatives. This year, our goal is to raise $1.1 million. Just a few weeks ago, we were honored to receive a $250,000 grant from the Community Foundation, Sonoma County. Many of us gathered in the Roseland branch to hear the Community Foundation's new president and CEO, Oscar Chavez, make this announcement to us personally. Thank you to those of you who were able to join us for that exciting announcement. It was a wonderful evening. Our plan has 7 strategic imperatives. A few of these include building our board. We expect to add 3 more members before the end of this fiscal year. Focusing on acquiring new donors, last year necessarily we focused on renewing current donors who had fallen away, and now we'll work to add new donors to our base. Expanding our reach into the corporate and foundation sectors is another imperative. Another one is launching our David Sabsay Legacy Society to educate people on how to include the library in their estate plans through the foundation. Commissioner Hauser has been generous counsel about how to go about that. Even though he's not here tonight, we want to publicly thank him. So our priority is building relationships. Relationship building is really everything in life, probably, right? But certainly in what we're trying to do. And that brings us to another strategic imperative, board involvement. Recently, we identified our top 50 donors and prospects with wealth indexing technology available to us in our donor software, Bloomerang. We now know what their giving potential actually is, and it's much more than they were currently giving, so we consider that an opportunity. We also can tell their likelihood of giving and what that is. And we need that to be stronger. That's something we also can fix. We're glad to know these metrics because it focuses our efforts, knowing that all of this can be improved easily and dramatically with caring, personalized, and ongoing stewardship. So that's what our new Board Buddy program is all about. Every one of the individuals and institutions now have been buddied up with one of our board members, and each of our board members have already made an initial call to their valuable donors and prospects to get their relationship building going. The response was energizing both to the donors as well as our board members. It was really a lot of fun. If you've ever made calls like that, sometimes it can be intimidating. I don't think it will be after the first effort we made. People were pretty excited about that. We have several ways to engage donor. We've talked about adding new donors. One of the best ways to do that is with house parties and club presentations. We got off to a fast start this past year, setting those up, and we expect a full calendar going forward. Erica, sometimes with Judy, sometimes with Chair Doyle. We want to thank you. We have been told what compelling presentations that these have been, so we're looking forward to doing lots more. And then, for all of you, here's an important save the date. Thursday, November 9th, 8 a.m., Sally Tomatoes. It's our Roseland Community Preview. We're really excited about this. I think everyone is waiting for this. And Losian is our co-host. You'll hear all things Roseland Regional Library. Program participants include Senator Mike McGuire, Herman Hernandez, Erica Tebow, and representatives of the City of Santa Rosa, Group for Architecture, and Kitchell Construction Management. We'll have a vision of what we've been talking about all this time. And then on Thursday, February 9th, 8 a.m. in the Forum Room at Central, we're hosting our first annual David Sabsay Society Vision Breakfast. So whether you've already included us in your estate plans or are thinking about it, or just want to know more, this is the place to be. There are also 2 major donor events coming in the spring. One will be hosted by Doug Bosco and Gail Guinup in their home on McDonald Avenue, with Greg Saris as the special guest. And the second will be hosted by Greg Saris himself at the Grayton Casino. So stay tuned for more details on those. So thank you for giving us time on the agenda tonight, and thank you again for all the ways you've been supporting the foundation's efforts as well. Your suggestions and ideas are always welcome. And I want to leave us with a quote from Oscar Chavez that he said while he was announcing the gift at the Roseland Library branch. I know he spoke for all of us when he said, "It's our hope that the Roseland Library will personify the essence of exclusivity and belonging, lifelong learning, and community that libraries create." And I told him, okay, sign me up again. I mean, after he spoke, it was very inspiring. So speaking of communities, we just heard part of the great vision that libraries have for our communities. So we're excited, and I hope you are too. So thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we're excited. It's wonderful.
Oh, go ahead. Is it comment time? Okay.
I just want to say that what is harder than fundraising? And what does nobody really want to do? Fundraising. And I just really give it to you for doing it.
Thank you.
Organizations and institutions don't exist without people like you. And thank you so much.
It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Just a quick question. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for your presentation and all you're doing. Did you say that you were looking for board members?
Yes.
I couldn't quite hear. So your plan is to add more?
3 more board members this year. Soonish. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Great resource. Send them our way.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Chris.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. All right, with that, we are going to move to what used to be 9.1, and which is now 4.3. And Erica, do you want to make the introduction? And then Suzanne, I'm sure you're going to be part of this, but.
Sure. So this is an action item. We're asking you to approve a contract with NeoGov, which is an HRIS system, and I'll let Suzanne describe what that is. But essentially, we want to increase efficiencies and track applicant recruitment, training. It's a whole suite of things that we're looking to accomplish with this new software platform. And I will turn it over to Suzanne.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, Chair Doyle, Vice Chair Green, Library Commissioners. I'm Suzanne Silva, Human Resources Manager, and I would like to thank you for having me this evening. We have been working very diligently in Human Resources to, hire, promote, train, and manage performance for our staff. We have doubled in size since I came on board since 2017. When I started here, our processes were paper, and we had a payroll system that we tracked employee information in the notes section. So we initially automated the human resources information system by using an add-on to that, and I will pick up the pace a little bit here, but I just wanted to give you some background. So, we added that on, but it's really, we've been using separate systems to utilize all of this, and we've found by attending public sector conferences and best practices throughout the public sector that NeoGov is a basically the cream de crop of the systems that can integrate our processes and make them more efficient, save time. And so we would like to purchase this, get into a contract with NeoGov and be able to automate our recruitments and testing and onboarding and applicant tracking that integrate them with performance management and training and e-forms and reduce our processes significantly. And so we've been working with the stakeholders of IT, budget and finance, and the other management team to purchase this system.
It's a lengthy document, and I think that you have someone here from the company. So let us just ask one question. There are a number of modules that are mentioned in the documentation. How many modules are we getting?
We will be getting, at this time, the 4 modules. We will be getting the Insight, which will be the applicant tracking and recruitment module. We'll be getting the onboarding, which will be the forms, so that we can automate the forms, and so that spending less. Right now, we spend an hour and a half in the orientation doing manual paper forms. We will be getting the performance management, which will currently make our paper processes in a system, in an automated system, so people can do them online, get reminders, et cetera, so that they don't have to manually go, oh, it's time, and people can ping them and say, your performance evaluation is due, and then training, which will be in one system. So instead of having 4 or 5 separate systems, it'll be all combined into one. There are 3 other systems, that we are not purchasing at this time: benefits, the actual system of record, the mothership, and then we are not also purchasing the payroll at this time.
Yeah, it's a deliberate, go ahead.
I read the stuff at the end of the document, I think it was at the end, in retention and hiring, and, the percentages and how gets better when you use this system. Is it an intuitive thing, like, hey, if we get the system, it seems like it'll be worth $160,000 by what we save here and there? Is it data-driven, like, hey, we're going to save this much money that will make it worth paying this? Is it intuitive? How do you decide this is worth it? We'll make up the money elsewhere.
Director Tebow.
Well, I can answer that. So a lot of what we do currently, as Suzanne said, is manual. It's all hunting people down, sending them emails, reminding them your performance evaluation is due, your performance evaluation is due. What this will automate is that whole process. So managers will be given reminders via email from the system when their performance evaluations are due. Similarly, for training, we have required training that is done, and the manager will be able to log in and see which training modules their employees have completed, which ones are yet to be completed, and it will send the employees reminders, this is due on this date, and all this can be used as part of the performance plan, when we do their performance evaluations, to say they completed their trainings in a timely manner. It also includes a suite of training videos and webinars that we will have access to, so we can actually tell an employee, we would like you to take customer service training. There's one available through the platform, and you just assign it to them, on the platform. So it's just a way to improve all of our training so that we aren't having to email once a month and send paper forms. It's an automation function, and it's going to be saving labor and staff time, and also reduce errors.
Additionally, we can add courses and create courses. There are several courses that we want to start implementing. Supervisor training module, when you become a supervisor, we would like you to have 80 hours of, X amount of courses, so that you'll be a better supervisor instead of just going, fly, be free, you're on your own. Or, we don't do that now, but I'm just saying, we want you to take harassment prevention or these X amount of courses by, 6 months, and then it will track. You're not on track, you're behind schedule. Managers will meet with you. Also, we can also create our own courses through the actual module builder, and then our courses that we've created, we can actually put them in the ones that we're doing right now. We're also revising our performance management training, and we can, once we've created that, we can add that to our suite.
Yeah, sounds good in theory. How robust is the system we're buying? Essentially, what can possibly go wrong?
I think that whenever you're doing an implementation, there are always glitches. I'm never going to say that I've done 4 implementations throughout my career so far. And there's always, when you're doing an implementation, and we do have the vendor here, we can let them in the room, but there's always, it's never a perfect. You're doing a testing, but that's why you do a testing. You never just put the system in and make it live. You never go live immediately. You always do testing. You have a test user. So,
This is also a very common platform. Many government agencies use this. The city of Santa Rosa uses this.
they have 489 customers in the state of California between cities, counties, and special districts within the state of California. That's right. County of Sonoma, throughout the state.
And perhaps the question, David, is not what could go wrong, but how long is it going to take to make it run smoothly?
The estimated implementation time for all of the 4 systems, they said spending a couple of hours a day. That doesn't mean all of us, but like one person, is about a year for everything. So.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you. I thought this was a very thorough report. I felt like I understood after I read it, and it seems like a good idea. As much as we've grown and all the staff members and all the things trying to keep track of, it made a lot of sense to me. Plus, it gives the staff more information about their own career path and what they need to do, which I thought was a great idea. I was glad to hear that the payroll part actually wasn't going to change, as long as we're happy with our current payroll system. Because I've been reading about these disastrous things that are going on, the San Francisco School District and all kinds of stuff, and they have a lot of part-timers and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm glad we're taking what seems to be a quite cautious approach and reasonable approach, and I was impressed by the report. Thank you, and I think it's a good thing to do.
Thank you. We've been working on this for quite some time, 8-9 months, and then a long time prior to that. So thank you.
Do I hear a move to approve?
So move.
I'll second.
I'd like to hear, can I ask a question?
I'm sorry?
I'd like to hear the rest of the presentation.
I'm not sure there was going to be
There's a vendor that Suzanne.
He's just here to answer questions. But
Oh,
May I ask a question then?
yeah, then I have a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Andy.
Okay. I had a couple of questions. Two of them I think are relatively small. One of them is a little bit bigger. It's clear to me that there are 4 modules. At one point, they're referred to as recruit, learn, manage, and perform. Then they're referred to as recruit, develop, learn, and perform. And then the licenses are actually for insight, onboard, perform, and learn. This was very confusing to me. What I heard you say is that one of these modules, whatever it's called, and I would like to know, I'd like to get clear on that, but one of them is involved in recruiting and hiring. One of them is involved in onboarding. One of them is involved in performance management. And one of them is involved in ongoing learning and development. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct.
Okay. The module that has to do with performance management, is that only related to performance appraisal, or is it also used in ongoing coaching and development?
It is used for performance management, and it is used for coaching and development for people to identify skill sets and grow. So it's not used for discipline, it's used for development. Does that make sense?
It's not just used for annual performance appraisal.
So learn and develop are 2 different modules, but it's part of this, it's part of the same. And maybe I can get this would be a good time to let the vendor in to kind of clarify that.
Yeah, that would be great. And then the other question I have is how, I understand there's an implementation process for the software. What's the learning process for the managers, supervisors, and employees who have to use the system?
Right, there will be a training involved, so that would be important. I mean, that's something that will be not part of this process, but the vendor will be providing training.
So is that an additional cost not covered by this proposal?
No, there would not be an additional cost.
So the vendor will be providing training for the end users at every level?
The vendor will be providing training to the library, and the library will provide training to the users. And that's exactly how it happened when we did our other software implementation. The vendor did not provide training to, like with IBS, they did not provide training to, IBS is the current system we have now. The vendor provided training to the library, and the library provided training to the staff.
So I don't understand how the library is different than the staff. Who does the vendor
So the
provide?
the vendor provides training to the core team that are doing the implementation, and then we provide training to the management team and staff.
So library staff will have to be involved in developing and implementing training for the staff.
Yes, basically it's like train the trainer. And now we have Nicole, who is our trainer, so she will be working to develop curriculum for the rest of the organization.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Thanks.
And the vendor is here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see.
Okay, I've got a bit of feedback. Let me try it out. Just go ahead and mute me a little bit. Okay. To address the first question from the council member about the distinguishment between the modules in the NeoGov suite. So the modules that are being pursued and for approval right now by SCL are Insight, the applicant tracking system, which will be the one-stop shop for all things recruitment. Onboard comes next after the hire is authorized. Onboard is going to give the new hire their own employee self-service portal with a specific checklist based on the position they were hired for. That's going to allow them to accomplish all things paperwork, tasks, trainings, etc., ostensibly before they even walk in the door on day one. So they can spend more one-on-one time actually getting to know the organization and the work that's going to take place. eForms is the natural extension of Onboard. Now, you addressed the descriptors of the modules themselves. So recruit, manage, develop. Those are descriptors axiomatically to define where the modules fit into within the NeoGov suite. So not to make things too heavy-handed or convoluted. However, the systems or the products from the NeoGov HRIS platform that are being pursued for approval are Insight, the applicant tracking system, and Onboard, which comprise our recruit module, because that encompasses all things recruitment, the actual attraction of top-tier applicants, the processing of the applications, the collection of all the data therein, test scores, interviews, etc., as well as the onboarding experience. So that is the recruit section of the NeoGov suite. eForms falls into our manage category, but it is its own product and it all ties into the same suite. Whereas develop is enveloped by perform, which is our performance management, goal setting, employee engagement product, as well as learn, which is the training module, which will allow you guys to assign trainings accordingly through our library of over 1,000 complementary modules, the ability to create your own trainings to disseminate to your workforce, track and manage any and all scoring, as well as learning development, and then track certifications, licenses, and CEU credits. Does that somewhat clarify the question that was posed?
Yeah, it would be, I appreciate, and I apologize for my confusion. I appreciate you trying to bring some insight here. It probably would be good to have a diagram or something that, because the names seem to overlap, but Wanted to follow up on your comment. You have 1,000 modules of complementary training. Could you just give us an idea on what kinds of subject training is available on, please?
Sure. Amongst the library, Suzanne, the HR team at SEL does have a copy of this, so this can be forwarded to you, Councilman. But to give a general descriptor of the library itself, the complimentary training library of 1,000, about 80% of that is going to be employment liability and workplace safety. And then the additional 20% is going to be more specialized. So we have the Microsoft Office collection, for example, to develop softer skill trainings for administrators.
And then we can also, Commissioner Barth, we can also implement some of our, the other courses that we've developed, and then our LinkedIn learning courses too into those. And then, so thank you.
That is correct.
I've got a couple of questions. One of them is, has an RFP been prepared regarding this project, and have we received bids from other vendors on this?
So to answer your question in a nutshell, no. This is a unique vendor, and they have they prepared a letter for a sole source exception. Yes.
Before the meeting, I had a chance. It's one of the reasons why, I've brought this up in the past. I suggest we have readings of these things ahead of time to give people the opportunity to do some research. I did a quick Google search on alternatives and competitors for NeoGov, and I got a list of 15 organizations that are competitors that have ratings as high or higher than the NeoGov program does. And I'm concerned that, we are a public agency, these are public funds, and the fiduciary duties that I feel I have, and I feel the board has, towards making sure the money's being spent and we're acting as good stewards of the money, is to at least get a bid to see what other vendors can offer us and to see how those bids compare with one another, and have the opportunity to be able to review that information either at the finance committee or in some other format before it's presented to the commission as a whole for approval of a grant of this size and of this impact. Those are the questions.
Well, so a lot of the other vendors work with private companies, and this one specifically works with public agencies.
I appreciate that might be the case, but we don't know that. We don't know what a vendor might offer in terms of the program, and whether there might be another vendor out there without having put this to bid. And it is a significant contract. So without a bid, you're looking at how it compares to the vendors. And it may be true, probably is true, that NeoGov is the only one who went out. That would be something we can conclude after looking at bids.
I would suggest that the staff has probably looked at that, and that's one of the reasons why they're bringing us in NeoGov.
She said that they didn't put it out to bid.
They didn't put it out to bid. That doesn't mean that they haven't done their research.
Well, I'd like the council to talk to us about our requirements for public bidding on contracts. If we could be talking about doing something like this, putting it out to a bid.
Commissioner Cahill.
Well, I would like to ask, what are our policies on when a contract is bid out and when we don't need to bid?
Typically, it's anything over $30,000 has to go to an RFP process.
And the amount of this contract?
Is 160, it's a 3-year contract.
So it should have been bid.
Well, as I said, we have a sole source exception letter, which is one of the ways that you can circumvent the RFP process.
Can you tell us more about sole source exception letter?
I'm going to turn over to CFO Lopez.
What I will address is the question about exceptions. It's not circumventing the policy. The Library Commission has adopted a purchasing policy, and it outlines the process as to what triggers an RFP. So when there's a procurement that we estimate would be over 30,000, the policy stipulates that we should go into an RFP unless we meet one of the exceptions that are listed in the policy. I don't have the policy in front of me, but there are several exceptions to skip over the RFP process. One of those is when staff has done its research and found that only this one particular, we found a particular unique vendor that can provide these services. And therefore, the library allows to use the sole source exception. And this is, that is the vehicle that the library is using for NeoGov at this time.
Thanks.
Chair Doyle, we also have General Counsel Jeff Mitchell on the call and available to respond.
Yes, I think Myrna said basically what I would have said, which is you do have a policy that typically requires multiple proposals for a contract over $30,000. However, it does have an exception for sole source on a case-by-case basis. This is the commission's adopted policy, so staff is bringing to you a proposal with that exception for the reasons that have been stated. So it's up to the commission whether you're comfortable with that, but it is authorized by your own policy.
I have a separate question. I'm looking at the fees. I notice that the service description is the same for each year, but the price is different. And I'm wondering, why does the price increase over the course of the 3-year contract?
Happy to comment. So the idea behind sorry, I'm just going to mute myself so I don't get my own feedback. Apologies. So the idea behind the 3-year ramp up, as we call it, is we stipulate a very steep discount on the first year, so as to allow time for the modules to implement. As Suzanne, it'll be around a full year till things are humming along and you start seeing the fruits of the labor. It'll be about 9 months until things are actually fully live. The first 2 modules, your recruitment and onboarding, that'll be implemented within the first 3 to 4 months, and then the rest will follow suit. So it'll be a gradual rollout of the modules. So the first year, that's why you see that steep price discount. The second year, your modules are still, they're fully implemented by year 2's begin, and you still get an allotted discount because of the modules being purchased, the advantage of purchasing in bulk, so to speak. Your discount is still at 30% of the list price of the modules. And then your third year, you'll ramp up to what equates to the 2023 list price version of the 5 modules SCL would be purchasing. Should the Sonoma County Library want to renew their contract with NeoGov year 4, you guys reserve the right to negotiate what that year 4 or extended lengthy term looks like. So you'll have a dedicated account manager on the NeoGov side that SCL's HR administration will be in touch with on a go-forward basis, beginning when you guys start implementation with us. And that will be who your point person will be for the negotiation phase.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner McKenzie.
Yeah, I've never really been shy about asking questions. I feel that this is one of those ones that certainly the staff had to look pretty deeply into this because it's a lot of work. And I was heartened by the mention of City Santa Rosa using this. I wonder if you could tell us some of the other jurisdictions that you've talked to and their experience. And, you know, how many, especially like local and are there other library systems that use it and so forth, but just some experience that you found out during your search.
Sorry, there's been so many, I just have to think about all the ones that, so again, working at libraries is, I haven't talked to too many libraries because I've just been talking to peer partners and other government agencies, transit districts that I formerly worked at, the metro that I formerly worked at, the regional transit, and these were all late adopters and people that were still working with paper-based systems up until just a couple of years ago. So not even CalOps, which is the current system that we work with right now. And even just some of the formal recruiters that helped us initially when we were still using paper apps in 2017 have transferred over to this. So the list is long. Yes.
I can answer that actually from Santa Rosa Junior College. We implemented NeoGov a couple of years ago, and while I wasn't on the implementation team, I'm sure our HR department had their own experience, but it seemed from an end user smooth, easy. It's incredibly easy to use. I didn't actually even go to a training, and I use it regularly for recruitment and hiring, for tracking our employee performance appraisals, for everything. So they offer, I'm sure, great support to Suzanne and her team. I trust that Suzanne and her team have made a great selection, knowing that it works well at Santa Rosa Junior College. And I think it's going to work well for the library end users as well, because it is really easy to use. So I think you've done a great job selecting it.
Thank you.
Sarah, do you know which modules you have in SRJC?
I couldn't tell you their specific names, but it's the recruit, the training, the performance appraisals, and
the forms.
And the forms.
It sounds like it's the same ones that we're getting.
The same
Thank you,
ones, I
Sarah.
think. Yeah. So, and the forms were huge because we were paper-based up until COVID.
Thanks very much for sharing your experience.
It's very difficult to try to navigate the processes that we're doing and spending an hour and a half per orientation. The 17 new hires that we had to hire for the orientation, it was, and all the extra help and the shelvers and everybody, so they still have to do those same basic forms, and that is really a lengthy process. So I'd like to move it along so we can do other things. Thank you. I mean, move along, not this presentation, but the hiring.
We can all hope. We have a public comment also.
Well, there's Chair Doyle, there's just a member of the public calling in, so just you can ask if there are any public comments before you take the roll call vote.
Right. Are there any public comments? We invite you to comment if you'd like.
There are no public comments.
Okay, hearing none. We seem to have two questions before us, and I think I probably have to do a round that asks, do we have enough information to make this, to vote on this? So I will begin with you, Commissioner Cahill.
Yes, with Sarah's recommendation, in addition to Suzanne's. Lillian, go ahead.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes, I'm willing to go ahead.
Commissioner Engbarth.
No.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Lagos.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
And I will vote yes also. All right. Then the second question is, would we like to adopt, I have to get the wording here.
Move to authorize the library to sign the subscription agreement.
I'm going to take that as a motion.
Second.
All right. Commissioner Lagos and Commissioner Cahill. All right, and then we will take the vote. Commissioner Cahill, any public comments? Do we have to have? Any comments? No. Okay. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elton.
Yes.
Commissioner Engbar.
No.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Lagos.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
And I will make it 8, 9. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will move
That's
on
yours.
to, and, you know, I think this library has been very careful about things that it needs to take out to bid. And I appreciate your trying to make sure that we serve as a public body, Mr. Engbar. But I think that we also need to trust our library staff that they did the research as well. All right, we are, do you want to tell us if there's anything that you'd like to add to the library reports?
Well, sure. I just want to let you know that you'll notice something new in my report. I'm going to start including my outreach and speaking engagements, so that you all know, what we're doing at the library. So you'll notice that we have a June report that includes my activities as well as a July report. This doesn't include all the things and all the meetings that I attend. It's just the kind of highlights of my month. We'll also talk a little bit about our Bibliobus. We have some, we did a lot of outreach over the summer, and we've worked really hard to increase our Bibliobus stops. So, Barbara Mays has been working very diligently on this. We are now going to be having Bibliobus regular stops in Monterey, Cazadero, Bodega Bay, Geyserville, and other places. Barbara and I went to Cazadero Community Services meeting to talk about this, and they welcomed us with open arms. They're very grateful to have a Bibliobus service. At this time, we're only going to be providing Bibliobus service. We're not going to be doing holds pickups. That may be something that we do at a later point, but for now, it's just going to be the Bibliobus stops, and we're looking at other alternatives as well. We also have, and I'm going to bring her up, our new Deputy Director, Dara Brad, started on Tuesday.
Hi, I'm Dara Brads. I've met some of you virtually, and I want to thank you for the opportunity for this position. I've got 20 years of experience in libraries from Ohio to New Hampshire to California, and I'm very excited. I've had the best. It's still not? Am I close? Okay, I was told if I project. How's that? Okay. This was day 2, and it's the most welcoming crew I've ever got to start working with. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. I think it's going to be a wonderful experience all around. Thanks for having me. Any questions?
We're going to have lots and lots of questions later, so we appreciate that.
Welcome to Sonoma.
Thank you.
And we are recruiting for our Community Engagement Division Manager. The position closes this Friday. So we will be scheduling interviews in the near future, and we'll get that valuable team member on board. And then I do want to talk a little bit about our mission, vision, and values group.
Before we move on, we'd also like to thank the people who have been bravely serving as your co-deputies.
Yes.
Oh. I couldn't have done it without them. Absolutely not. So in the July report, you'll notice that we talk about a mission, vision, and values group, and we're going to be doing an exercise at Staff Day so that all of our staff can provide feedback on our mission, vision, and values. And we're also going to be including some commissioner input into that process as well. So you will be hearing more about this in the near future.
Commissioner Elkin.
I think that's,
Oh, I'm sorry. I've heard of Cahill.
is your intent to propose amendments to the reimagining plan?
Not the reimagining plan, just our mission, vision. So right now we have our mission statement, and we're looking to provide a little bit more specificity to our current mission and adding vision and values. Our racial equity team has a mission and vision statement as well as a value statement, but we as an organization do not have that full, piece.
They are not rewriting the mission statement. We're just adding specificity.
I think we are rewriting the mission statement. Ray, you want to come up here and share?
Thank you, Chair Doyle, Commissioners, Director Tebow. I'm part of a group. I believe it's actually Alita Demas who got this started. I'll just tell you anecdotally, when I investigated the job at the library, I went online to look for the mission, vision, and values. The mission statement's pretty good. The vision statement's not, and there were no value statements. I applied anyway, because I figured it was the library. We've all talked about that quite a bit. We think it's time to update it. So we have, as Director Tebow said, we have a very inclusive process planned with online surveys, focus groups. We want to include the commission, the labs, the friends, the community. And then we'll be coming back with a draft for you all to see.
Any other questions?
It's a little fuzzy. How does this relate to the reimagining? The statements that are in the reimagining?
Reimagining plan is one of the inputs.
It's an input.
A mission is something that a reimagining plan is like a strategic plan. They typically are only good for 3 to 5 years, whereas a mission, vision, and value statement is something that is more enduring.
So this would be an overarching statement. So.
Yes.
Any other questions? Barbara.
Yeah, I think this is great. This is bubbling up from the staff, but I do want to emphasize that as the governing body, we really are the ones who, we need a lot of input, and I realize it'll be brought back to us, but we need to be involved along the way, because this is what we do. I mean, we are the governing board, and we are responsible, and which certainly a mission and a vision and value statement should, definitely include the governing body as this is developed.
Yes, and you will be included.
Thank you. I think there have been things that are on our website that we haven't been included in, and that's why I just want to make sure that we're part of the process as well as at the end. But thank you.
Well, I wonder if it could be more than conclusion, whether we can have a liaison to whatever the working group is, and have somebody from the commission be a liaison to that as we have with the Vision-wide committee with the commission.
Yeah, that's part of the plan.
It seems that would be Deborah's.
Well,
We're having ongoing conversations. Frankly, I'm not sure that I'd rather have. Would you like to have one liaison, or would you like to have 2 active commissioners on the committee? So I think there's going to be input from the commission in a major way, because I believe the bylaws and the JPA say that the commission helps create the mission statement.
we're in very formative stages right now, so all will be revealed.
Okay. Any other questions about the director reports?
one more, the e-books program. Could you describe that a little bit more, what that grant's doing and what we're doing? I don't want line by line detail, but just sort of more of a description of what's in the.
I'm going to ask Jamie to do that.
What would you like to know?
Just what the company, what the range of the books are that we're looking at.
Okay, so it's a $40,000 grant. It's going to include ebooks and e-audiobooks, although it will primarily be ebooks. With that amount of money, we will be able to get a couple hundred titles, so it's not going to be a massive collection initially. And it's going to be on the Palace Project app, which is a new platform, fairly new platform that I've spoken about at the budget workshop and a couple other times at commission meetings. So we have not selected the particular titles yet. We have not received the money yet, but we are looking to invest in independently published works as much as we can, local authors, et cetera.
Thanks. It seems like a good program. To the one.
Thanks very much. Did you want to talk about the conference reports, or do you just want to, are you? I'm sorry, Barbara, did you have a question?
Well, it can come now or later. I wanted to thank you for the complexity of these reports. I always appreciate all the detail in it. It answers a lot of our questions and shows us all how much is going on all the time in the library system. I did notice in here that that Ray Hawley and Chair Doyle and Library Directors Melinda Cervantes did a presentation on challenges to intellectual freedom and censorship, which sounds like a really interesting presentation to make to us, which I hope either maybe at our training day or one of our commission meetings, because I'd love to hear that.
What do you think, Ray?
Sure.
You think it's short.
Library director.
We had a lot of presentations actually at CLA. Craig and I presented on fundraising. As you said, Ray, Chair Doyle, and Melinda Cervantes presented on challenges, and then Chair Doyle also was on another advocacy panel. We had, probably a dozen library staff attending the California Library Association conference. We also had about 6 people attending the American Library Association conference from both public services as well as collection services. We had a lot of specialized training, including for our history and genealogy program, attending the Rare Books Conference, as well as the Memory Lab training at Los Angeles Public Library. As well as some special conferences, the Seguimos Creando Enlaces Conference, which is always in Southern California. It was held in San Diego. So it was a lot of conference activity. The summer is a really popular time for library conferences, so we had a lot of staff going to conferences, so it was good.
The International Public Library Fundraising Conference also, which a couple of us attended. Great reports on the conferences, and really terrific that staff is getting out and not only absorbing information, but making sure that you're telling our story, because we have such a good story to tell. We commission appreciate it. Any other questions about that report, commissioners? On to the community surveys results then. Questions about the results? You all got a chance to take a look?
Very positive.
I'm not seeing any questions, comments from the director?
I'll just say that we had an RFP for our public education campaign. We are scoring them this week. Commissioner Cahill and Commissioner Green have agreed to be on that scoring committee. So we will hopefully be selecting a firm by the end of the week for our public education campaign, and we can, start that relatively soon.
The survey results were terrific. Great news.
They were.
If no comments, then we're going to go on to the budget and finance reports. and people have had an opportunity to take a look, especially the Finance Committee, so you don't have to go into tremendous detail unless there are questions. But it's good news all around.
Good evening. In your packet, there are the year end for fiscal year 22-23, which ends on June 30th, 2023. In a detailed report that was presented to the Finance Committee on August 28th, and also to the Measure Y Oversight Committee on August 24th. The Measure Y Committee obviously focuses in on the expenditures and the use of the sales tax funds. And so within this report, I have the same information that was presented to both committees that I mentioned. If you, I could go over just the highlights with the year end. We ended the year strong in terms of meeting our revenue targets and exceeding them under the property tax by $1 million. And overall exceeded total revenues by almost $3 million. Also, under the other category of revenue, which is a combination of interest earned, funds from other government jurisdictions, grants, and some donations, we exceeded our expectations, but really that was driven by our interest revenue. Our funds, as you know, are pooled with the county, and so we did relatively well there. So we did really well, and also under expenditures, we still are adjusting our budgeting tools, and the library ended by almost spending almost $40 million. But that is almost $10 million under budget. And that was the reason for the savings really was driven by capital expenditures. As you know, the capital budget historically has budgeted the entire amount for the full cost of a planned capital project. And projects had been delayed, so therefore we didn't spend the funds on those projects, and they were mainly the refreshes that would have been delayed for Healdsburg and the Petaluma branches. There are also under just general services and supplies, we did have a $2 million savings there as well. But every year since I've been here, we've been trying to tighten and sharpen our budgeting tools. And so in the current fiscal year, we did scrub our services and supplies, and we adopted a new budgeting procedure for capital that I could speak to in the next report, for the July report. And so that sums up on the expenditures. Do want to make note that fund balance at this time was not available. Fund balance, as you know, is noted in the statement of special fund activity. And currently, we're still working on our year-end financial statements. What you see here are unaudited financial statements. We're preparing for our audit, and so our financial reports will be completed by the end of September to hand them over to our auditor for the annual audit. Therefore, the statement of special activity, fund activity, as you know, is very intricate. And so we want to make sure that we take our time to provide you with accurate information. And that will be that statement will be ready by the end of September to hand over to the auditor, and will be presented at the next Finance Committee in September. No, in October. It'll be October because the Finance Committee will be meeting before these statements are completed. We're continue to work on our procedures, policies and procedures, and we are also in the midst of interviews for our accounting manager, and that will bring on additional expertise and bandwidth for our team to continue to advance on our reviews of our policies and procedures in this year, and also to reflect our post-pandemic normal. And we've learned a lot of things during the pandemic, and then just reminding ourselves how important our internal controls are. So with that, I'll take any questions.
So I understand the surplus is due to the refresh money that we've had in the budget now going on a couple of years. And I can speak to the Petaluma Library, not the fault of the system, because there's been things that have happened that are beyond our control with the city of Petaluma, for example. But that money is sitting there and costs are going up. And I don't know how we deal with that money. Does it just sit there? Does it gather interest? Because, you know, we have this money based on 2-3 years ago and what it was going to cost. And now we're having to look at the plan and, well, we can't afford that now because the costs have gone up. So my question is, and maybe this is to the commission too, are we willing to put some more money into these refreshes because the costs are going up and we're just not getting them done?
Well, I'm not sure that this is under this subject, really. You can respond briefly, but I think if we're going to have this conversation, it has to be a different agenda item at a different meeting.
Okay, it doesn't have to do with finance.
Well, regarding.
It has to do with finance.
Okay, well, all right.
Regarding the surplus, yes, the surplus is driven by the underspending in our capital projects. And in this current fiscal year that started on July 1 with the new budget, we have a new budgeting procedure to only allocate or appropriate according to the progress of a project and the phases that are planned to take place during this fiscal year. So I mentioned this in, you can see it in the calendar and in the report, the July report. I could go into the July report if you'd like, because it does touch on capital budgeting procedure.
Put it on an agenda item.
We can talk about it briefly. I think that.
Okay, well, so yes, there are, in our budgeting process, we do take into consideration the increases in costs. And those are always a risk in any project, even within a fiscal year, whether you budget it or not. You know, a pandemic can happen and then your costs shoot up through the roof. So, you know, these are things that are out of our control, but with the information that we have, we've budgeted to the best of our knowledge. And we will be having more regular updates to the commission, to the Finance Committee and to the commission on our capital projects under our new budgeting procedure, which is on a quarterly basis. The staff will come to the commission to give you a status report on progress of capital projects and request additional funding accordingly.
Okay, great, that answered my question.
Any other questions? We'll get it to July financial. And just summarize unless does anyone have any questions? Okay. Any questions? Then why don't we talk about the draft finance committee 2023-2024 calendar?
Yes, this calendar, for purposes of planning for the Finance Committee and the Commission, staff has developed this calendar to give you an idea of what's coming before you. In August, staff again presented the fiscal 23 year-end on unaudited financials, which the Commission just reviewed. In October, the Finance Committee will see the first capital projects update and request for additional appropriation. That, under the recommendation of the Finance Committee, would go to the Commission in November. In November, we do expect the audit to be completed and presented to the Finance Committee for fiscal year 22-23 and to the Commission in December. In January, staff will present the capital project update number 2 and again request any additional appropriation as needed. And then also in December or January, we're expecting to take a deeper dive on the 5-year forecast that was presented to the Finance Committee regarding the scenario in the event that a sales tax is not renewed, and what that impact would mean for operations. So that will go to the committee, the Finance Committee, either December or January, and then to the Commission subsequently. In November, we expect a capital improvement program to be presented to the Finance Committee. There's been a lot of discussion about what projects are before us, how they're prioritized, and what the timeline is for each of those projects. And there is a best practice to develop a capital improvement program. Each of our JPA partners has a capital improvement program. And so it makes sense for the library to have one as well. So in terms of developing our own, we are looking at our JPA partners' capital improvement program. So I'm excited to be able to present something. I'm working with Director Thibault and our facilities manager, Dave Tachiva, on creating this capital improvement program. And as you always expect, a mid-year review in February to the Finance Committee. I expect to present it to the Commission in March, and also a procedures update. And in April, we will have at the Finance Committee, again, a capital project update number 3. And then working towards the budget workshop in April for the Commission, and then adoption of that fiscal year 24-25 budget in June to the Commission. There's maybe other work involved in here, but these are the highlights.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Thank you, really.
I have a quick question on it, but so appropriate time to really discuss my question about additional appropriation for the projects, for the refresh, would be next November when the capital project update is brought up. That'd be the appropriate time to.
I think with the capital project update number 1, you could certainly ask about the status and the costs involved. We will most likely be making a request for additional appropriation, and of course.
So that seems like the appropriate time to bring up the refresh at the different libraries and the additional costs, because you're going to be asking for.
Yes, cost,
Okay.
timing.
All right, so I won't make a special motion to discuss that.
And we need the information before that. Okay. Great. Full conversation. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any public comments on the library report? I think we only have one.
We only have one member of the public in attendance, and nobody is attending publicly via Zoom.
Okay, then if there are no public comments, we will move on to commission and liaison reports. I don't have any additions to my chair report. Are there any additions to commission reports? Mr. McKenzie?
Yes, actually, a question about your report, which I appreciate all the information in there. I saw in here that Assemblymember Aguilar carries a bill for the 55% for local board. What does it mean that was referred to the suspense file? That doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good. It may not be dead completely, but it's certainly not being discussed at the moment. And that was a surprise to the California Library Association Legislative Committee. So that committee is meeting this Friday, and we will have some additional, I hope, information for you. And I won't wait for the commission meeting to let you know, because this is sort of a big issue.
Thank you. It's important.
It doesn't change the equation for us.
Sadly. Questions on commission reports? All right, no public comments. Committee and liaison reports. Andy, do you have anything to add to your liaison report?
I'll be quick, Deborah. The Finance Committee met at the beginning of last week and reviewed the information that our CFO, Myrna Lopez, just shared with the commission. We looked at the unaudited fiscal year end report for 22-23. We looked at the July financial reports and also the proposed schedule. I think I can speak for everyone on the committee when I say that we really appreciate the great work that Myrna and her team have been doing. We have a great deal of confidence in the accuracy of the information. We appreciate the great timeliness, and we're looking forward to having our audit proceed smoothly this year as it did last year. So grateful to everything that Myrna's done and to the process improvements that she continues to make. Beyond that, I just want to thank the members of the committee, and that's our chair, Deborah Doyle, Dave Cahill, and Barbara McKenzie. They continue to do great work. I was honored that they selected me to continue as the chair, and I'm very grateful that Barbara has agreed to continue as co-chair of the committee, bringing her great wealth of institutional knowledge to bear. So that's it on the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any questions for Mr. Ruffin? Okay. The Foundation Liaison Report is in here. Commissioner Hauser is not here. He made a complete report. However, he did not mention, of course, that he has been helping the foundation and giving them advice because he's very quiet about his own skills. So even though he's not here, perhaps he won't be watching the commission meeting later, and we can applaud and thank him for all that he's done. Commissioner Goldberg, do you have anything to add to the historic records?
No.
Okay. All right. I attended the Measure Y Oversight Committee and...
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I thought it was really cool that Commissioner Goldberg was producing at no charge a video for the advocates of the archives. So thank you. So,
All right, thank you, Barbara. The Measure-Y Oversight Committee, it was just they heard the draft financials that Myrna presented to them, and they're discussing officer elections. I believe they're going to have the same officers, but their elections are going to be at their next meeting. So there's not a whole lot to report on because it was late last week. There was no paper report for you. Any questions?
Just a comment that I observed that meeting. They had a great presentation from our legal counsel on the Brown Act and other, other related matters which I thought was very well done. Look forward to seeing something like that in the commission tree.
All right, we are moving on, and now any public comment? Down to library advisory boards, friends, we've had our foundation report, so we'll move into the consent calendar. Are there any objections to anything on the consent calendar? Ms. McKenzie?
I don't have any objections. I'd only like to add that since we're doing all the lab appointments by consent calendar, it'd be kind of nice if we could read out at least the names of the folks that we're appointing, just for the public record. Is that possible without?
Yes, I can pull those up if you'd like. I can read the names.
That would be great. Thank you, Lisa. Does the commission wish to take a break before the? I'm going to call a 5-minute break.
Good idea. I think you mentioned it.
I want to be part of
An objection
I
to
mean,
it? or-
just some clarification. I can get maybe on the consent. See,
We're not actually, okay, let's call it.
Barbara went to the rescue.
Oh, I saw that, I saw it.
Yes, 13 and 14, I'm not sure.
You know, are they?
It's probably gonna be a Saturday.
It is a Saturday.
And I will.
I it might be in my outbox.
I have probably start. So I'll go with you.
No. It doesn't matter, that's already down there.
I tell you what, why don't we call the meeting to order, we'll wait for Barbara, but we can, what's that? It's the PA system and they're closing. All right, we're back in order. And so perhaps we can, I was going to suggest moving and approving the consent calendar and then hearing the names and welcoming them to the Library Advisory Board, but I believe Commissioner Engbarth has a comment on the consent calendar. So first, we'll hear that.
I'll just have a question.
Fred, excuse me, microphone? Could you put it on and hold it up to your mouth, please?
I just have a question on item 8.3 on the reclassification. It contains as backup information, multiple drafts, MOU, and I was just wanting to be clear that what we were doing is approving the reclassification, but not all the drafts.
Well, so the reclassification, because there is an increase in the pay, the MOU had to be adjusted to reflect that, you know, the salary is higher because it's a librarian 3 position and not a librarian 2 position. Barbara can answer some of the questions.
So in the background, you can see that we had an unsuccessful recruitment for the librarian 1/2 for the 0.5 FTE juvenile hall and the 0.5 FTE central position. So slowing down. So we looked to reclass to a librarian 3 position. So in the juvenile hall MOU, we had to adjust the language to now say librarian 3 everywhere in the document where it did say librarian 1/2, and to reflect the cost increase. There were a few different changes on juvenile hall's site as well, which are listed there, which are just verbiage that they wanted to adjust a little bit. But all of the changes from the document that you approved before to what it is now are right there in your draft.
Okay, I'm concerned though that the item as it appears, that the item as it appears is just for the reclassification and makes no reference on the agenda to simultaneous approval of all the changes on the MOU. And I don't know that it would be in order for us to approve two different items under the name of one. I mean, it would seem like the reclass should be listed as a separate.
Can I ask counsel for his opinion on that?
I'm sorry, it says, in accordance with the attached revised memorandum of understanding on page 2.
That's a combined motion.
If you want my input, yes, I think this is fine. I understand the comment about separating items, but when you have two action items which are related to each other, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to split them up. It makes sense for the commission to act on them all as a whole, approve all of them or none of them.
All right, so can I have
Approval of
a,
the consent calendar?
I'm sorry?
May I move approval of the consent calendar?
I'll second.
Barbara second, fabulous. All right, then we will take the roll and then we will call the names and welcome the Library Advisory Board members to the family again. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Engbar.
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg. Yes. Commissioner Green. Yes. Commissioner Henninger.
Yes.
Commissioner Lago.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
I'll make it unanimous.
And Chair Doyle, do you want to ask for public comment first?
I would love to ask for public comment. May I have public comment? Is there any public comment? All right. See none. If you could read the names.
Yes, I will do that. So for the Roner Park Cotati Lab, we have Jill Jorgensen as a new appointment. And Alfonso Guyton is a new appointment for the Cloverdale Lab. Correct? Did I get that correct? And then Susan Clark and Joel Smith are reappointed to the Cloverdale Lab. For the Santa Rosa Lab, there is Molly McNeil, Lauren Chavez, and Robin McManus as new appointments. For the Petaluma Lab, oh wow. Mara Birnbaum, Allison Garo, Joshua Simmons, Lisa Lim are all new appointments. Jan Everidge and Karen Peterson are reappointments. And for the Healdsburg Lab, Janine Alsa is a new appointment.
Terrific, thank you. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for those who have been of service, and thank you to those who will be of service. We appreciate it. Now we're going to move on to action items. We have already had the NeoGov Workforce Management Suite subscription item, so we're moving into the MOU for the Master Gardeners. Erica, do you want to talk about that, or?
This is the MOU for the Master Gardeners. I'm gonna have Dave Tacheva answer that.
So we're presenting the MOU for the Master Gardeners who are, you guys can't hear me? Okay. So there's a group that works with the Petaluma Library, and they maintain a garden out in front of that library. And this is the MOU that allows us to have that partnership.
Any questions? Commissioner Elkin?
I didn't see any expenses associated with this. There's no money involved. This is just a working arrangement which will allow this great program to continue. Is that correct?
That is correct. The only impact on the library is that we now will be responsible to prune a tree that's there. So.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes, like everyone, I love the Master Gardeners. I just have one question. Since this is the city's property, is the city involved in this at all?
They're not.
Because
That's a good question. I think we just never thought to even engage them with that.
I mean, it's the yard, it's outside.
Yeah,
It's their property.
and the MOUs with another agency as well, so that is a good question. I'll bring that up.
All right. Any other comment? This is true, I mean,
Oh, I just was going to say, I think this is a great program. It's, our libraries look great because of it, and, oops, I'm supposed to use this. Our libraries look great because of it.
And I'll go ahead and move to,
let me ask for public
Okay.
comment first.
okay?
I'll hold that move. Please.
Patrick Carter, I work for the City of Petaluma in the City Manager's Office. I just happen to be here. I'm not prepared to speak on this item, here for the lease item later, but I believe that the premise includes the surrounding area of that, so it would make sense if you have a project. I mean, we work with other organizations like Daily Acts and maintain our properties as well, so, you know, there's a history of us doing something similar, so I don't, on its surface, have any objections from that, but, you know, that's from an uninformed standpoint. But just knowing that the lease premise itself includes the outside areas, I would think that it would be okay, what it's worth.
Thank you very much. And Michelle?
I'm looking at page 209 in our packet. This is the proposed lease with the City of Petaluma. And I see under section B-2, that tenants' cleaning, maintenance, and repair responsibilities shall include the following: maintain landscaping of the premises. I believe that covers this, does it not?
Looks good to me.
Thank
Right
you.
there in black and white.
We haven't signed up the reader, Commissioner Elkin. Thank you. And this may be an inspiration for the other master gardeners in Sonoma County because there are fabulous
Yes.
master gardeners all over the county. So this could be the pilot program of something big. I have a motion from Commissioner Heatherich.
Second?
Second. And let's take the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes?
Commissioner Rainvart.
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Green. Yes. Commissioner Heatherich.
Yes.
Commissioner Lagos.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
I'll make it unanimous. Wonderful. You see green before us already. All right. 9.3, the California Library Connect grant for Layer 3 network switch upgrades. Mike, that must be yours.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here to talk to you about a grant opportunity. I'm really quite excited about it. It's an infrastructure grant, a layer 3 switch, probably, maybe nobody knows what that is. We have a very complex fiber optic network. If you think of it as a hub, or a wheel and spoke network, this is the hub. It provides all network connectivity between the branches and the internet. It's coming up for end of support via Cisco. This infrastructure grant allows me to be reimbursed for all but 2.5% of the switch costs. IT stuff is always surprisingly expensive, and a piece of equipment of this magnitude at $82,000 plus is quite large. And by being awarded the possibility to accept the grant, I'll be able to use those funds for other library projects for the fall. Any questions?
Who's the grant through?
It's a California State Library grant.
Any public comment? All right, do I have a motion to approve? Do. All right, Commissioner Green, Commissioner, all right, there's a second. Then Commissioner Cahill?
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Rainvart?
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Heatherich?
Yes.
Commissioner Lagos?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes, with thanks to Mike. Good job.
Yes. I'll make it unanimous, thank you. And thank you to the grant writers, because we know how important you are.
That was me too. That was you too.
Congratulations, that's great. All right. 9.45 and, okay.
This is a lease amendment to the property at 470 Sebastopol Road, where the temporary Roseland Library is located. The city of Santa Rosa has purchased this building. The intent is to put a police substation there after we have moved out into our new beautiful Roseland Library. And as a result of our new agreement, the library is actually going to be saving $28,808 annually because we will not be paying those triple net payments. And so it's a cost savings to us, and it's basically we're just transferring the lease from one owner to another.
Questions? Commissioner McKenzie?
I can't get my head around why we are paying rent to one of our.
Commissioner McKenzie, could I ask you to face the commission instead, because we are having difficulties hearing you on this side.
These are very frustrating microphones.
Right out to your mouth.
You have to be there. Hello.
There we go.
Yes. All right. I am having difficulty getting my head around why we are paying rent to one of our JPA partners. And I know this is an exceptional situation, the way Roseland came about and all that and so forth. But the fact that the city of Santa Rosa now owns this building, I'm really not clear on why we would pay them rent.
Well, that was negotiated prior to my arrival, so I can't really speak to the lease and how it came to be. I think that was the arrangement that was made, and
Well, we were paying the other gentleman who owned the building for the lease, and now that he no longer owns the building, I mean, leases don't necessarily go along with the sale of a property. So this is a brand new thing. There's a brand new owner of the building, the building owner is now a member of the Joint Powers Agreement. So none of the other JPA members are paid for the use of their buildings. And that's why I'm just having trouble grasping this.
I understand.
If I could add one comment, the lease will go with the ownership of the building. So the city is subject to the lease just as the library is. So that the choice then would be to terminate the lease if that's what the library wanted to pursue. But otherwise, we would be bound by the terms of the lease, one that was assumed by the city.
If I may follow up, I'm sorry, I really couldn't understand that. Did you say the lease follows the purchase?
Right. When a purchaser buys real property, they take it subject to any existing leases. And so they simply become the successor in interest to the prior owner. So we are both bound by the terms of the lease unless we amend it or terminate it.
Well, terminating the lease wouldn't necessarily terminate our occupation of the building. I mean, the JPA partner now owns that building. And so all of our other JPA partners are providing the buildings at no cost to the library system, and we are going to be paying them as, as renters. To me, it's just very inconsistent, and I feel very comfortable about it.
Any other questions, comments?
I agree with Barbara on it. I think that if,
excuse me.
Oh, I agree with Barbara on it. If we're going to make this change, it probably is in order to terminate the lease and to have a new lease agreement that would be consistent with all the other lease agreements we have, which I understand is $1 a year.
You'll note that the Library Commission approved the lease in June of 2019.
It's a different lease.
That lease was with a private owner.
Commissioner Cahill.
Yeah, I agree with Barbara. I think it's not a good concept for us to be paying for rent to one of our JPA departments, what I suggest. We go ahead and approve this, as it's submitted, and ask the staff to ask the city, hey, if you really care about us being rent to you, then why not amend the lease? So that we don't have to pay rent. It's a fairly small amount. It is a very strange situation.
It is.
How then does that change the,
It doesn't submit this and then go back and work out an amendment. If the city says,
other
if the
comments?
city says, nope, you have to pay it, then you'll pay it.
Hang on, any other comments?
Only that I don't want to put the location of the temporary Roseland Library at risk. And I guess what you're saying is that if they say you have to pay it, we'll pay it.
Well, I think that perhaps this item's not quite ready, and it seems like there might be time for working out or negotiating an amendment or a replacement lease to be consistent with what the point Barbara raised, which is would be the point that with, again, all this other JPAs really charge us $1 a year.
Commissioner Elkin.
The situation with the city of Santa Rosa is complex. They've agreed to provide, what, $10 million toward the development of the new Roseland Library. We currently don't have a lease, a current lease for the downtown location, is that correct? So I don't want to presume what's going on with the relationship with the city of Santa Rosa. I feel pretty confident that our library director and our communications manager have much greater insight into what's happening than I do. I feel uncomfortable debating this in a public setting. If we're not ready to sign, maybe we would take this outside of the meeting for further consideration.
Director DeVoe, is there a deadline?
Well, we haven't paid rent for August or September, pending the lease. So I mean, I can tell you that we're in lease negotiations with the city, but I don't know when those negotiations are going to conclude, and that would be for all of the other buildings.
Thank you. I'd also like to remind the commission that we have been talking about providing a permanent branch for the Roseland community for a very long time, long before it was part of Santa Rosa. And so we have lots and lots of years of work. We also have a long relationship with Santa Rosa. They are one of the founding partners of this system. So certainly we can have some additional conversations, but I think that we should remember that Roseland is, I believe, and I don't think I'm alone, that this could be an amazing example of a new kind of a branch for Sonoma County Library, and that we want to make sure that we're working with the community, that we're working with the city that the Roseland Library lives in. So Ray has some comments, and then Barbara had another comment.
Thank you, Chair Doyle, Commissioners. Ray Hawley. In 2019, not all of you were here, but the commission took the extraordinary step of investing in the Roseland community. There was a conversation, I was here for it at a different location, about the difference between paying a lease temporarily and acting within the confines of the JPA. And the library and the commission, again, made that investment, and it was always intended to be temporary. When the city saw the chance to purchased this building, they saw a chance to save us money and to save our taxpayers money. Not only is all the triple net disappearing, but we don't have to go back to the private landlord in a year and a half and start negotiating and really being held hostage by all of our improvements. Santa Rosa has agreed to continue this as long as it takes to build a new library. So personally, I see this as an extension of that visionary investment that the commission decided to make in 2019.
Commissioner Clark.
Well, this is a topic worthy of debate. I'm tempted to request that we table the item. I appreciate everyone's comments, including what Ray just said. Yes, it was extraordinary that we took on a significant lease and invested over $1 million in upgrading a building that we didn't own, and we've never done that, as far as I know, for any other jurisdiction. So we all realize that these have been exceptional circumstances. The $10 million that Santa Rosa has pledged, I understand out of it's the money they got for the fires. They, again, technically, consistently, traditionally, the jurisdictions have built the building. So it is in Santa Rosa, and it would be Santa Rosa's responsibility to build the building. And our foundation is doing a lot of work to buy all the interior and so forth. And it's our responsibility to pay for the staff and materials. The $10 million that they put aside to build the building is their responsibility. This lease, if you're talking about all the jurisdictional partners and you have the Mayors and Council Members Association and you have the city managers meeting and you go, well, wait a minute, why is the library paying you rent for that building? Why they need to pay us rent for our buildings? I think it's just a big inconsistency. I know that it's complicated, a little bit complicated, but to me, it really stands out as quite an exception to our ongoing relationship with all the jurisdictional partners. And, I've always been the one talking about treating everybody equitably. And, there's equity, trying to do this capital improvement plan and make sure we got the priorities straight, and everybody's get treated fairly, and all the libraries get updated, and all the jurisdictions get money, and all the jurisdictions' libraries look good, and so forth. This is quite an exception. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about the $160,000 NeoGov contract, and this is, $235,000 that's going to the city of Santa Rosa from the library system. So if it were me, I would table this until we had some more conversation with the city. If we follow David's idea, which is a fine idea, but if we sign this lease and we vote to sign it, they're not going to go back and say, oh yeah, right now you don't have to pay it. I mean, I don't think that we should, if anyone else is in agreement with what my thinking about this, I think we should table it for some more discussion with the city of Santa Rosa before we sign it.
So I'm going to ask,
Was that the end?
I was going to ask, I will ask the question, who wants to continue forward with this item tonight? And so if it's a yes, and we have a majority, then we'll vote on this. If we don't, then we'll table it.
I have a question about tabling it.
Sure. Or not table it, but postpone it until the next meeting.
Yeah. I have a question about that.
Sure.
If we vote to table it until the next meeting, are there negative repercussions for the Roseland branch?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
All right. This is the vote to continue, this is the vote to vote on it this evening. Commissioner Cahill?
No.
Commissioner Elkin?
No.
Commissioner Ingbarth?
No.
Commissioner Goldberg?
No.
Commissioner Green? No. Commissioner Heavenridge?
No.
Commissioner Lagos?
No.
Commissioner McKenzie?
No.
All right, we have enough. Then we will look forward to talking about this next time. All right, moving on to the Healdsburg Regional Lease.
I just want to emphasize that we haven't had a lease with the city of Healdsburg since 2006. So this is really quite an accomplishment. And you will also note that the JPA actually requires that we have a lease for every building that we provide library services for. So the carrot was the Building Forward Together grant, but we have been able to successfully negotiate with the city of Healdsburg and get this lease ready to present to you. You'll note that there is a small rent, $1 per year, and this because they want to have a record of transaction. And we can either pay it annually, $1, or we can prepay $20 up front for the first 20-year term. There are, let's see, and there is also an exhibit that is not in the packet, and that is something that we can add later.
Questions?
Motion to approve that lease.
Any public comment?
Discussion?
No, second.
No, discussion? I'll second for discussion.
She first, yes, she moved and then you
Right.
second, yes.
Right, so I seconded, but for discussion. I just wanted to comment on page 195, the longstanding debate that we've had off and on in the Finance Committee over time and the Lease and Bylaws Committee about who pays for repairs. And I
Could you
think
speak into the microphone, Commissioner McKenzie?
for a long time, we've talked about the portion in the JPA about repairs, and it's been an issue that's debated on both sides. Anyway, I think that's a really good lease for, and I think that's a very reasonable approach under number 7, that any repairs over $5,000 are negotiated in good faith between the parties. And I would like to see that same provision applied to all of our jurisdictional partners. I don't think it's consistent, and I think we need to be very consistent.
So the Windsor lease has that same amount. The Roner Park lease is $1,000. The other leases don't have a specific amount because most of our other leases are very old and haven't been updated. But most of them are basically on an annual basis in perpetuity.
Any other comments?
A similar point, I really appreciate the approach that you took on page 195 and again on page 197 about the fact that if there are major repairs required, we're going to sit down in good faith and negotiate. That was the stumbling block for years with the previous city manager. This feels like a very collaborative approach to a good partnership. So thank you for working this out with the city. I would like to see us vote to approve it.
Any other comments? Any public comments? All right, I'm going to take that as a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All right, Commissioner Cahill?
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin?
Yes.
Commissioner Rainville?
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Fenneman?
Yes.
Commissioner Otto?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
On the unanimous. Thank you. That's great. It's good to have leases with all of our branches. Okay, Petaluma, 9.6. This is an amended and restated lease.
Correct. This is also, so the city of Petaluma received a grant from the state library for the Building Forward Together program, and a condition of that was a lease that would be in effect 10 years after the completion of the project. The current lease expires in 2033, and we do not anticipate completing that this year, so hence we need to extend that lease so that we can fulfill the conditions of the grant.
Any questions? Commissioner Rainville?
I'd like to have some explanation of why exhibits A and B are missing, because those two exhibits that are essential terms of the lease agreement. I'm not comfortable signing the lease agreement missing essential terms.
So when we wrote the agenda cover item, you'll notice in the motion that we do have the authority to, there are still a few things that we're left to negotiate. And, I'm asking that we that you delegate the authority to do those final revisions with concurrence with our council. So it's in the motion.
Well, is there a problem? When you buy a house, you get a property description, just, getting Xerox copy. I
Well,
don't
it's
understand why there's a problem in getting the property description.
It's the same building, so there's no changes being made to the existing property.
So that's even simpler. Couldn't that property description be copied and just included into this agreement?
I'm going to defer to Jeff.
Well, this is the same, we have the same provision in the Petaluma lease one we just approved. We need the city to produce the legal description. We don't have it, it's their property. So, but as Erica has said, this is the same building that's been in use for a number of years. I don't really think it's a problem. I'm fully comfortable moving ahead, and we will add the legal description. If for some extraordinary reason they produce a legal description which did not line up with the building, we would be back talking to you.
Comments, responses?
No, I'll speak to it.
Then how many do not want to vote? Well, I'll have to take the round again.
Public
Is
comment?
there public comment? Please.
Thank you, Chair Doyle. Didn't want to jump in, want to let your staff, respect your staff for all the hard work that they've done on this. It's been a process. We too, at the City of Petaluma, we've had we need to approve leases by ordinance. So we've had our first reading at the City Council. Our City Council delegated our city manager the same authority that staff is recommending for this agreement, in that the city manager, along with the city attorney, can negotiate any remaining points on this. The unfortunate part about this is it's a little bit rushed because we need to get the lease in effect by October 17th for the State Library Commission to have this in effect. So there is a legal description in the current lease. I suppose we could just copy and paste that over. I think what we want to do is make it graphical, and so that conversion from a text version to a graphical version we didn't have ready. So that's one of the points that we're just trying to, that our council has delegated the city staff to negotiate. We're confident that it's going to be the same premises that we're already doing. We're not trying to pull any fast ones on anybody. We're just trying to, for expedience's sake, we're just trying to get this done. Because unfortunately with our agreements, first reading, another meeting, second reading, and then a 30-day referendum period. So we're having our second reading on Monday, the 11th. And so that gives us just enough time to get this all done and executed before the State Library Commission's deadline of October 17th or 19th. It's really close though. So that's the rationale behind it, and we're confident that we can work with your staff to get something that's agreeable to both parties. Thank you.
If I could just add one point, in case that wasn't clear, the way cities work, their ordinances are not effective for 30 days after adoption to cover the potential referendum period. And so for this lease to be effective, it needs to be approved by the council, whatever it was, Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then that will allow the 30-day referendum period to run. Then the ordinance will be in effect and the lease will be effective at that point.
Thank you. Commissioner Elkins, and then okay.
So I just wanted to clarify, there's no change to the existing property. There's no change to the existing premise. The change is in the way that the property and the premise are described or depicted. Is that correct? I have no problem approving the lease. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm willing to go ahead. I frankly think this is pretty sloppy. I think Fred is right. On land matter, we look at Exhibit A, and that's a property description. meets and bounds or whatever other method. I'm willing to go ahead. I hope we don't see this again.
I'm happy to describe the building to you. I'll give you a verbal description.
Deadlines can be
Yes, that's-
challenging. All right, I'm gonna call the question. Who wants to move?
We have-
You'll move, because you're Petaluma.
Yeah.
I'll move to pass it.
Delegating authority to the library director
Yeah, to,
to
let's see, where
execute
is
the
it?
amended and restated
I
lease
move that the
agreement.
Sonoma County Library Commission delegate the authority to the library director to execute the amended and restated lease agreement subject to final revisions with the concurrence from the library's legal counsel.
We'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Elton. All right. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Elton,
Yes.
Commissioner Garth,
No.
Commissioner Goldberg. Yes. Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Henry.
Yes.
Mr. Lagos.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
And I will say yes also. Thank you very much. And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 9.7, to accept the annex supplement to the facilities master plan final report. As you know, this is about H&G.
Okay. So we are bringing before you the last part of our facilities master plan and ADA transition plan. So this is the addendum to the facilities master plan for the annex portion of, and the last portion. So nothing's changed since the presentation materially. Is there any questions?
Any questions? Commissioner Ingram?
Thank you.
Yes. This will help us with our capital improvement plan. Yes.
I do have one. We own this building, correct?
Yes, we do.
The rest of the facilities master plan, we didn't look at earthquake safety or anything like that. And we didn't look at earthquake safety for this, did we?
Seismic, no, not other than the shelving. Yeah, we know we need seismic shelving.
Okay. Any public comment? Or, so we had no public at all. All right, then we're gonna take the vote. Commissioner Cahill?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Should we move?
You're so
I'll move that the Sonoma County Library Commission accept the annex addendum to the facilities master plan final report prepared by Group 4 Architects.
A second.
Fabulous. Seconds. I mean, Commissioner Ingram seconds. Great. Commissioner Cahill?
Yes.
Commissioner Elton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ingram?
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg? Yes. Commissioner Green? Yes. Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Lagos?
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
All right. That takes care of our action items by motions. Do we have any suggested agenda items for future commission meetings? Commissioner Etheridge.
I suggest that we have an item on the agenda that discusses let's see, how can I put this exactly? The money that's been sitting in the budget for the last couple of years for the libraries to refresh. That's the right word, thank you. And where that money has been sitting, and and why, and I think we are going to have that discussion because there's going to be in November. But I would like, if it's not appropriate for that discussion, I would like a separate line item where we can discuss how much money we want to increase for this. So, yes. Okay.
Just for clarification, so are we talking about the capital improvement plan? Are we talking about the fund balance? Both? Okay.
Anything else?
Some months ago, I submitted a proposal to have on the agenda a discussion about readings before we vote on motions. That was, I think, October was last last year. Barbara seconded that item, but it's not yet worked its way through the agenda. And I'm wondering, I'd like to know where that is. And if somehow it's got lost, I'd like to maybe have it revived.
Further discussion, Doug. Okay. I would like to talk about conflicts of interest as a conversation. I see nods. For those who are listening, I see nods.
Conflict of interest on the commission?
Conflicts of interest in the library, in the Sonoma County library world.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd also like to talk about term limits. Alright, see a second there. Any others? Last call?
My understanding is that on those.
Excuse me, Fred, could you please pick up your microphone and hold it next to your mouth?
Putting
Thank you.
future agenda items that we need a second on each of those. And I was wondering whether there was a second.
There was a second. A second for each one of those.
Just didn't hear.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yeah, I didn't hear the second either, but I saw heads nodding. I'd like to go back to what I had mentioned earlier about you educating us on challenges to intellectual freedom and censorship. Second.
Just kidding. All right, then our next committee meeting, our next commission meeting is October 4th, and our commission training orientation is October 14th. It is on your calendar. And with that, with no objections, we will adjourn.
So training's going to be here too.
Good night.
Training's going to be.